Okay, I'm going to show you how to roll up the data and combine it at a certain level. And by level, this goes back to what we've been talking about. Can you identify what a specific row represents in a table or a set of data? We're going to build on that. And when we go to combine stuff, we have to get everything at the same level in order to combine it. So to get started, I'm just going to open up a new blank workbook just so I can invoke Power Query. I'm going to go to data, get data from file, and it's an Excel workbook I've given you. I'm just going to browse to that workbook, bring it in. This is the Pueblo Hotel data, and you've got a number of tables. We'll just bring them all in. And then what you need to do is you need to visit each of these tables, and you're going to need to decide at what level each table exists. And I'll just give you a quick example. If we go take a look at the property information, the primary key is property ID that identifies what a row is. So every row is a different property. If we go take a look at the employee survey data, there's a property ID, but it's repeated. And so then we get some values from the surveys. And if we look, these are average values across different questions. So the way I'd interpret this is that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 surveys associated with property ID. So that's at the property survey level. Here, the financial data is the property year month level. And so you'll see, I would just create a little table to keep track of at what level each of these data tables are at. So then the first thing that we want to do is I've got a little list of steps that we're going to follow. So these steps right here. Okay, let's do the first step. We're going to take a look at the property year month tables. So our first property year month table will be our financial table. See, it's property year month. And what we want to do is, our objective here is to roll everything up and combine everything at the property month level. The property month level. And so here we have a property year level and property year month. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get rid of the years that we're not interested in. If we look at the data dictionary, we determine that year with a value of 1 is the current year. So we're just going to get rid of the prior year. So I'm just going to filter just on the current year, and that gives me just the current year's rows. And then at that point, because they're all the current years, this year becomes less useful, and so I'm just going to get rid of it. So now we're at the property month level. The other one we'll want to do is competitor market data. Same thing. Just going to deal with the current year, and notice it's going to get rid of some nulls too, which is okay. And then that's all I've got. I've filtered those rows. I'm going to remove that. So those are all the property year month tables. And then if I go back and look again, like you're seeing, let's go deal with the property month day tables. So that would be our customer satisfaction. Let's go to customer satisfaction. Now, how do we get this to property month? Notice if we look at just property ID and month, we have repeated values. There's 1, 1, and there's 1, 1, there's 1, 1. So the only way we're going to get it to property month is to take all of the values from there down to, we got to go quite a ways down to there, and then we're going to aggregate them across the days. And we're going to do that with group by. So then we need to ask ourselves, how do we aggregate satisfaction score? Should I sum them? I'll let you think about this, but sum is not the right answer. We're going to want to average them. If we're going to talk about a score for a property in a given month, as far as satisfaction, we're going to want to average them. So we do that by going to group by. We want to group by multiple columns. We're going to group by property and then add month in there. And then we're going to take we'll call it average satisfaction. This is the name of our aggregated column. We're going to average it, and then we're going to average the satisfaction score. So I'm going to click OK. Now when it does that, notice I've got property month. And by the way, if we're at the property month level and we're only dealing with 1 year, if we have a full data set, we should have 12 rows per property, 12 months in a year. Okay, so that gets rid of the property day month. So those are all the tables that were at a lower level than property month. Or at the same level. So we basically made sure we just rolled them up, or we just got the set of property month rows that we're interested in. Now these others, property information's at the property level, it's a higher level. Same with operational data. But we have this property survey. It's kind of not really at a lower level or higher level, but the thing that we need to do is we need to then aggregate it up to the property level. We have some guest complaints and risk events. Those are at the appropriate ones, and we're just going to leave those. Let's just take a look at those first. Risk events. So we have property month. We don't have a year in there, so we don't need to filter. Guest complaints. We have property month, same thing. So we're just going to leave those. But let's look at the employee survey. This has, if we look real close, the only way to really interpret this is that each row represents a survey at a property. So it's kind of at a property survey level. If you read the data dictionary, you'll see that these scores over here, survey training provided and survey career opportunities, those are averages from several questions we ask the employees on a survey. So we average those across the questions on a single survey, and that makes these property survey rows. So we want to roll this up to the property level. So, and I'm going to let you think about why that is. And you might just ask yourself, what other level could we roll it up to? And how are we going to join it in? So I'm going to go group by property ID, and then I'm going to do advanced because I want to do multiple. I'm going to go ahead and just call this survey. I'm just going to duplicate the names, training provided. And the only difference between these and what's in the original is I'm going to be averaging across all the surveys for a property. Before, they were averaging across the questions in a survey. So I'm just going to roll it up one more level. So I'm going to call this the same thing, career opportunities. I'm going to average, and I'll let you think about why it makes sense to average and not sum. Then I'm going to roll that up. And now, and you should be thinking along the way, if we assume how many rows should I end up with if I roll it up to the property level? Well, if I look at the property information, that represents every property, and I see that there's 114 rows. So at most, I would expect 114 rows, but we may not have data for some properties. So if we go back to the employee survey, after we rolled it up, we had 112. So that tells me that there were 2 properties that we didn't have any survey data for. Now, if we go back to, say, property year month, like financial, since if I had a complete set of data, I would expect there to be 142 properties times 12 number of rows, because there's 1 month per year and then 142 properties, and we only get a glimpse of it, so we don't get to see the total number of rows. Okay, so let's see what our next step. There's a bunch of these that are at property month already, so like guest complaints, we're just going to leave it. Risk events, like we said, we're just going to leave it. And then I think that's all. And then we have some like property that are at the property level. So notice that we're kind of grouping these into property month tables where we end up in property month, and then we're grouping them into property tables. So we're either rolling up to property month or rolling up to property. And then we'll go ahead and join them. So our next step is to start joining them, and we're going to start with all our property month tables. So let's just start looking here. We've got property month here, competitor data. So we're going to want to keep that. That's at the property level, so we don't want to deal with that yet. So we've got property month on customer satisfaction, property month on financials, property month on guest complaints. Here our operational stuff is by property, so we don't touch that right now. Properties at property level, and risk events is property month. So you might ask, how do we know what table to start with? Well, we're just going to do a quick group by. I'm just going to let it do count. And so, oops, let me undo that. I don't want to do count by month. I'm going to do a group by on product ID. So if we're at the property month, when I count by property, if I have a full data set, I would expect to see 12 under the count for each property. And I don't see that here. So I'm not going to merge stuff into the risk event. I'm going to undo that. Let's go look at the next one. Operational data. Nope. Guest complaints. Right there. I'm just going to go ahead and go group by count. And you see right there, I see I've got 1 month for every property. Now, the other thing we want to check is, do I represent all properties? And I have 98 properties that I represent. So there's some that I don't have. So that's not quite a complete data set. But for the properties that are represented, I have all 12 months. So let's try financial. That's property month. Let's roll it up by property month. And here I've got 114 rows. And looks like every one has 12 data points for each property. That tells me I've got a full set of data. Every property is represented in every month, and every property is represented. So I'm going to join stuff into here. So I'm going to start with financial. Let's go back up. Customer satisfaction. We have that as property month. That's property level. And that's property month. So let's just start. I'm going to start with financial, and then I'm going to join these others into it. Ready? So we're going to go merge queries as new. And then I'm going to join in competitor market data. And I want to join by both the property ID and the month on both of them. And I'm holding down the control to click the second column so it gets combined. Notice the 1 and 2. So on Windows, I hold down the control when I click month. I'm just going to do a left outer because I want all my rows in financial to appear. And then if there's matching rows, I'll do it here. And notice, because I already I didn't look at competitor market data, but obviously since there's only 1,020 of the 1368 rows, I'm missing some data for competitors in the competitor market data. I don't have all properties, and I may not have all months. But that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and join it in. So that's my first merge. Now, I would suggest keeping kind of a merge tree, which you'll see an example on Blackboard. So my first merge, I merged financial with competitor market data. I'm just writing that down. And that's what's in merge 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this merge 1, and I want to merge in my customer satisfaction. That's my next table. And again, the way you're going to identify this is we're just going through and looking for those that are at the property month level. So let's go check customer satisfaction. So we got a property ID month. So I'm going to join those two, holding down control to click the second column. And I always want to join stuff left, keep all these rows, and so I'm going to join that in. So now merge 2 is merge 1 with joining in customer satisfaction. And I'm writing this down so I can keep track of it. Okay, so now merge 2, let's go down. We started with financial, guest complaints. We'll merge that one in. Ready? So here we go. Just rinse and repeat. We're going to do this whole lot. Guest complaints. There we go. Merge on those combined keys. Left outer. Now merge 3 brings in, what did we do? We did guest complaints. Okay. So now merge 3. Now guest complaints going down. Operational. That's at property level. Properties at property level. Risk events. So we're going to take merge 3. And we're going to merge in risk events. Because that's the last property month level table. We'll do left outer, and notice there's only 403 matches. That's okay. That means we're missing a lot of risk events. Now, what I've done here is I haven't expanded any of these columns, and that's okay for right now. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go take another pass, and I'm going to merge in those at the property level. So if we click here, let's just look. Employee surveys at the property level, so we want to deal with that. Employee survey. Financials not at the property. Guest complaints, we already merged. Operational data is at the property, and property information. So we got these 3 tables. So ready? We're going to go in that order. We're going to go merge queries as new. So merge 5 is going to bring in employee survey. And notice here, we're just going to merge on property ID. So what you need to pay attention to is these values, 4.125 and 3.16667. It's going to get repeated 12 times in our final data set for property 1, because that data is going to show up every time for every month for every row month we have per property, and you'll just have to convince yourself of that. And it's okay that it repeats. We just have to remember what it means. Okay, so merge 5 was merge 4 with, what was that? Guess it was employee survey. Okay, and then the next one, merge 6, we're going to bring in, we're going to take merge 5 and we're going to merge it with our next one, which was property information. It's at the property level. And if we wanted to make sure, see, since I've forgotten, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say that's at the property month level. That's at the property level. We already did that. Customer satisfaction is property month. Financials property month. Guest complaint property month. Operational data. Oh, there we go. We missed that one. So let's do merge 5 and we'll bring in operational data just to go in order. Alright, operational data. We're going to merge it in with property. Again, we'll just do a left join. So now merge 6 brings in operational data, and then merge 7, our last one, is going to bring in that property information. So with merge 6, we're going to do property information, merge on property ID. We got 1368. I'll let you do the math. What's 142 properties times 12? Alright, so that's our last merge, and that includes everything. So at this point, we can just go ahead and expand all our columns. So we merged on property month. I'm going to uncheck those so they aren't duplicated. I'm not going to use my table name in front. Okay, go over to the next one. Take out property month. Go over to the next one. Take out property month. Go over to the next one. Take out property month. Take out property. Notice we've got some nulls here, which is fine. We expect that because we didn't get all the risk information for all properties. Take out property, operational data. Okay. Scroll way over. Expand the columns. Take out property. Now these kind of might be in reverse order. Like naturally we'd kind of expect all the property stuff to be over to the left. If you wanted to, you could highlight them all and click and drag over to the left. So at this point, we're done. So we close and load. Now notice a few things. Remember our last few tables, I kept them in the same order that we merged them. Our last few tables we just merged based on the property ID column. So because we merged up to the property month level, I'm going to hide all these. Let's try this. And so like our survey, I'm going to hide all these. Here starts our survey data. Whoops, that didn't do what I wanted to do. Let's try this again. Hide. Now notice, I have, if I pull down all the repeated ones, I have 12 of those. Because for property 1, I have months 1 through 12. So it gets repeated because these to the right were just at the property level. The only way we could join them in was to repeat those values since our main objective was to merge in at the property month level. So hopefully that makes sense. That is how we join at a certain level.